There are around 30 so Rabbanim, Hashpiyim, authors, thinkers, people involved in Hashpah from 6 countries came to spend Shabbos together. No, that alone happens all the time. But these Rabbanim that came from 6 countries to spend Shabbos together are people whose whole life, whose whole mahus, his whole essence centers around the conviction that Am Yisrael is thirsty for a new layer of the Torah, and have devoted their lives to trying as best as they can to reveal the inner well springs, Chasidus, Pnimiyus HaTorah, in study and action and thought and regesh, to as many Jews as we possibly can get. This kind of medicine, it's medicine, real medicine. And the connections that we made, and the conversations that were had, and the experiences, and the love. I've never felt so much love in my life. And so I'm almost coming here directly from there. I didn't prepare anything to say, anything to sing. I'm going to give this one over to the Kol Yachal. It's obvious to you that I'll need a lot of help with the singing, obviously. But this, to me, this is a direct hamshacha from what I just experienced. Direct. That tap has not been closed. So we'll let it flow. We'll let it flow. We'll let it flow together. And hopefully I'll be able to give over just a te'ima, a little taste of what it was that we were trying to accomplish over Shabbos, what our plan is going forward, and the way that the light of the Geula, the sunrise of redemption, continues to unfold. Minute by minute, day by day, challenge by challenge, tear by tear. Moment to moment. So please join me strong. Let's light the whole room on fire.
Yeah.
Usually I say l'chaim on water because that's what there is to drink, but there's actual l'chaims here. So l'chaim. Also, I want to just give a huge thank you to the yeshiva, which is called Veshachanti, for hosting this, and for having me, for having all of us. And a huge shout out to our dear friend Natan for putting it all together. What a privilege to be here. In a certain way, getting to forgive my voice, I'm just giving you what I have. L'chaim. Here's a real l'chaim. L'chaim, l'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam v'shakol nidbar. I didn't have in mind that, and it's not nichol. Anybody who reads a little bit Navi, which we don't generally do, because we're good yeshiva bachrim, you know. So like Navi is like, let's be honest, it's only part of Tanakh. I mean, so we don't generally learn Navi. Anybody who does learn Navi, especially Yeshayahu, Chabakuk, Yoel, Yecheskel, any of the Nevi'im that were mamish, giving us a glimpse of what the world is going to look like. And anybody who understands those psukim and those visions in the context of the calculations that are universally accepted, based in numerous Mamar Chazal, Midrashim, and Gemara, as to when the world is going to experience a fundamental shift. And any person who knows those two pieces of or clusters of information, and then takes a moment to reflect on this moment in history, at the very, 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 very end of the Elef Hashishi, of the 6,000th millennia, on the threshold near the Chalukah Days, exactly how close we are is a couple of lost years. It's a sugya. But L'chol HaDeis, on the threshold of Geula Mamish. And anybody who understands that in the context of the Psukim and Navi, and in the context of the unfolding of history, and a little bit has eyes to look around the world, and to see what's happening, to quote Rabbi Nachman in Torah Aleph, Hein beruchni, hein begashmi, what's happening on a ruchnistic level, the good, the bad, the ugly, and what's happening on a gashmi level, the good, the bad, the ugly. Such a person knows that it would have been impossible to script this moment any more mechuvan or aligned with the process that's supposed to bring us to the Psukim and Navi. Because every single thing that the Nevi'im said is happening. Every single thing the Nevi'im said is happening. It's not happening outside of us, although that's also true. Most crucially, it's happening inside of us. Something is happening in our generation. You know that, and I know that. And it's not a davar chitzoni. It's not because technology is so terrible, and we have smartphones, we have nisyanis and access, v'chuli v'chahena. And therefore, fill in the blanks, we're so shvach, and now we need all kinds of gimmicks and musical hallels and all kinds of things just to keep us connected as much. Chalila. Chalila. Lahapich. All of those challenges and nisyanis are part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's plan to elicit from within us the messianic spark of vulnerability, the messianic spark of authenticity, the messianic spark of humility, the messianic spark of yearning, Ratzin. The Ratzin in this dar, the Tzimaon, the thirst in this dar for something real. For something real. I'm talking about mamish, something real. Not even a davar Torah that's relatable. It's mamish, the nakuda. What each and every one of us is struggling with in our own lives. To see that reflected in mashpiyim. Not giving big speeches and lectures. Or fancy pilpulim. By the way, bein benigla, bein benister. It's the same. You could learn Pnimiyus HaTorah and it could be completely chitzoni. A person could be a Baki and Arizal and even in Baal Shem and even in, it's possible, it's less likely, but it's possible even, Breslov, Chabad, like, it's Efshar. Because Pnimiyus is not a matter of a text. Pnimiyus is a matter of the person that's showing up to that text. And the person that gets up after they close that text. And the person that walks out of the Beis Medrash or of the room into life. And brings that sense of self into a marriage, into a chaver with chaverim, into parents and children. Pnimiyus means that I take life mamish seriously, and I'm not sufficing with a religious, cultural, institutional, establishment-oriented structure that serves me, because now I have something to identify with, and I know generally where I belong, and then I'll get on with life. And I may even take it seriously, the Yiddishkeit part of the life, but it's a part of the life. It's a facet. People mamish are yearning not only for the Geula, but to be a part of it. People want to know that life mamish matters with a capital M. That we have a chelek in this story. It's wrapping up now. We're sitting here in Yerushalayim, you understand? We are the hitkashmut, we are the manifestation of our grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents and on and back and back and back and back and back until Al Naris Bavel Shamisham Nugam Mechinu. Can you imagine? They were thinking about us. Zachrenu as Tzion. Imeshkachich Yerushalayim. Like, how could we forget Jerusalem? What do you mean, how can you forget Yerushalayim? The whole thing's destroyed. You read Eicha, you read Yirmiyahu, you see what's going on over there. What? What are you talking about? Nigamar Sipur. Whole thing's finished, it's over. Imeshkachich Yerushalayim. Because they knew that in 2025, they knew it that you and I would be here. Higanu, Chevra. Like, you have to understand, we're here. Rabbi Nosson has a beautiful lashon. He says throughout Likutei Tfilos, he says, "Banu ad soif kol hadoros, v'yidenu imach." If somebody knows that there's an earlier source for that, I don't know. Maybe I couldn't find him a car for that. This is a lashon that Rabbi Nosson uses to translate, "Banu ad soif kol hadoros." We have arrived at the end of all generations, v'yidenu imach, and we're still with you. The project of the Jewish enterprise has succeeded. It has succeeded through blood and tears and pain, excruciating, gut-wrenching pain. And we held on to Torah as best as we could hold on to it. And we needed to place such a strong focus on halacha, because without halacha, like if you don't have a body, you can't have a soul. So the whole thing was just nigla, you know? And that was the main thing, and that is the main thing. Because if you want to accomplish something in Olam Hazeh, you have to have a body, b'chlal. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes Adam from an Adama first, right? Because you can't just v'yipach where? V'yipach what? Where are you going to blow neshama exactly? Into midair? And then you're going to put a clump of earth around it? Lo lech kacha. It's like somebody made a joke about a certain person, a certain nationality, I'll be kind. You can imagine. They make jokes, these people are like, almost like idiots, you know, like something like that, like they're fools. Okay, let's say chalm, right? So the person couldn't figure out that the spray deodorant, the way that they spray deodorant is that they spray it in midair, and then they walk over and they go like this. You know, once the cloud of deodorant, like your chacham, you can spray it on, you know. You can't make a goof around a neshama that you sprayed out of a can into midair. You need a goof. A soul without a body is a ghost. But Chaver, listen carefully. And I'm just here to remind you, you know this all already. A body without a soul is a corpse. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted neshamas begufim, like the Lubavitch Rebbe would say again and again. Neshamas begufim. Because he has trillions of malachim, malache elyon, who are perfect and singing to him. And he didn't need to create this tachtas olam asiyah. Person knows a little bit Seder Shtalshus. It doesn't get lower than this. You people understand sometimes a person's walking around. The world is such a terrible world. It doesn't, that's like, okay, it could be better. It's the worst. It's the lowest. It's malchus of asiyah. We are. This is bar tachtias. This is shal tachtis umi tachtav. Rabbi Nachman looked around. If you didn't see it on the Kuturan, you wouldn't believe it, because everybody think Rabbi Nachman walked around smiling all day. Rabbi Nachman lost his first wife. Rabbi Nachman lost 4 children. Rabbi Nachman knew what pain was. The Rebbe says in Likutei Moharan, Tinyana, he says a classic thing. You have to understand it in the context of everything else Rabbi Nachman teaches, like everything else Rabbi Nachman teaches. There's a context to Breslov. You can't just take a line out of somewhere. Gesundheitsstark. You know, Rabbi Nachman has a line, just parenthetically. One of the Torahs Rabbi Nachman begins, he says, Tzarech l'rachem al b'sar haguf. You have to have rachmanis on the flesh. L'hatim, I think I'm quoting somewhat accurately, to allow the flesh, the body, to taste the light of the neshama. So somebody told me he was in Tel Aviv and he walked past a restaurant and he saw in the restaurant, it says, Tzarech l'rachem al b'sar haguf. Rabbi Nachman B'Breslov. Everything comes from a context, you know. You can't just take one line. It's a whole system. It's a whole thing. So the Rebbe says over there, he says, Mamash, a classic. You forgive me for ranting. Mamash, it's my first time talking to anybody else. I've just been listening and crying for 4 days. You forgive me. Mamash, my first time just trying to talk a little bit. L'chaim. Rabbi Nachman says that it's part of our emunah to believe in Olam Haba. It's part of our emunah. Says the Rebbe, you know something? I say you also have to believe that somewhere, someplace, there's an Olam Hazeh somewhere. My high will believe in Olam Hazeh. What do you mean? Does he believe in Olam Haba? Says Rabbi, you know why? Because this is not Olam Hazeh, this is Gehenim. This is a direct quote. This is not a shmua. This is in Likutei Moharan. Rabbi Nachman says maybe you have to believe that there's an Olam Hazeh somewhere, because this ain't it. Because after October 7th, and after a year and a half of Almanas and Yesomim, and after a year and a half of the most unimaginable sacrifices that are being made, and the tsar and the pain that we need to feel, we need to feel it. It's our pain. A person has a little bit of a taste, oh, this is the world that we're in. So I always give a mashal of a person who was hired to be a janitor. In England, they call it a caretaker. I'm learning all these new things. Is that right, Rabbi Yeager? Yeah, caretaker. And imagine he shows up the first day at work. It's a school. He's hired to be the janitor in a school. And he shows up, takes a look around, and he frantically calls the person who hired him, the boss. He says, wow, this place is a mess. So I'm just letting you know, your school's a mess, the waste baskets are full of trash from the whole day. And the bathrooms, there are tissues on the floor, the toilets are a bit dirty, it's a mess. How do you have such a messy school? And the boss is like, I don't understand. You're the janitor. That's why I hired you. I know the school's a mess. That's your job. Because the school's a mess, I hired you to clean it. Mamish, Chevra, anybody who's in a position of hashpah, you have people coming to you all the time, kvetching and complaining about Olam Hazeh. Ki'ilu, we have this expectation, but that what? Adam la'amal yulad. This is not a fun joke. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's dead serious. I really encourage you to read Yirmiyahu. Please, just don't even learn any Mefarish. Just read it with a translation. Read it in English. God is not playing games. He loves us. He's desperate to be in a passionate, authentic, vulnerable relationship with us, and he will pursue us until the end. Because there's no other end but Ani l'doidi v'doidi li. He's not playing. And not because he's a punishing, punitive, angry God, but because he's so full of love. And he's so full of love and absolute clarity and vision of what kind of world we could have and what kind of lives we could live and how we could avoid so much pain that we cause ourselves more than anybody else causes it to us. We cause pain to ourselves, and thereby we cause pain to others. And Kadosh Baruch Hu knows what kind of world this could be. It could be Gan Eden. Geula is not somewhere else. Geula is in our hands. So Kadosh Baruch Hu put us here to clean the mess. And we've created some kind of Jewish culture where, you do the thing and you come to yeshiva and you serve a couple of years and you go back, you have a big, beautiful wedding, and then you pump out a couple of kids and hopefully send them to a cheder and they'll learn a little bit, and then it's very important they should know Gemara so that they can get into a good yeshiva. And then they'll go and they'll learn a little bit, and in the meantime, we have a tafkid in the world. It's like a cliche thing, you have to believe in yourself. What does that mean? It's not enough to have a weapon. You have to know who the enemy is and where the battlefield is. Where's the front lines? Otherwise, you'd be marching around with all your various weapons. You have no idea where's the user manual? What are we trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish? And we'll speak about that in a few minutes. We have to sing a little bit more. I apologize, I'm not coming in hot, Forgive me. My heart is overflowing. More than usual. Because I see it happening. I see it happening. I feel it happening. You feel it happening. But the first thing is knowing that mamish, it's on us, and we could do it, and we must do it, and we are already doing it, and what a privilege to do it. We're here on a mission. The whole history is on our shoulders. No pressure. No. The whole history is mamish on our shoulders. And it's a glorious time to be alive. Anachnu dor mitzuyan, 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 mitzuyan. Let's sing a little bit more, and then we'll speak about those things, the enemy and the front lines, which is a pretty important component of it. Join me if you can.
Please, let's do it. Yeah, it's going
What are the psukim from Navi that I'm talking about? Many things will change in the time of Mashiach. But the many things that will change in the time of Mashiach are only extensions of one fundamental change, one essential change. Because every change in the guf is some kind of expression of a change in the neshama. Because a corpse doesn't change. It decomposes. It fades. But evolution, change, shift, comes from the soul. All the changes that are going to happen in the world, and with Am Yisrael, are extensions of a fundamental shift that relates to our neshama. Because the Navi Yecheskel describes, and it's interpreted in different ways, that there are bones that were scattered, dry bones, at Savim Yiveshes, dry bones. And in the first stage of the prophecy, Yecheskel sees that the bones, at Savim Yiveshes, the etzem al etzem begin to combine and compile, and they begin coming together. They're still dead, but they're coming together. They're forming a unit. The Metzias of a guf, the Metzias of a kli. And then after the bones came together and formed human beings, the Navi describes how layer after layer of the human anatomy begin to enwrap these bones with veins and sinews and muscle and different kinds of tissue and cartilage and flesh and different layers of the skin and hair and different features, until the human being was completely formed and a whole army of human beings were formed, but they were corpses, they were dead. And then the Navi Yecheskel describes that there was a ruach mimarim. There was a spirit that came from above, a soul, neshama, a neshamadik spirit, mimarim. A heavenly, mysterious, sublime, transcendent spirit that came down into these bodies that had been formed, and they came to life. They came to life. This vision in various forms is echoed by all the Nevi'im. That we're giving nevuahs about the end of time, which is our time, in a way that when we say Ikvus of the Mashiach, it's different than when the Maral said Ikvus of the Mashiach 400, 500 years ago, and it's different. Because the Ikvus of the Mashiach maybe started different shitas, as when it mamish started. But again, l'chol hadeis, they had hoped Mashiach would have come hundreds of years ago already. L'chol hadeis, we're approaching Be'ita. Because the pasuk says, Ani Hashem Be'ita achishena. I am Hashem, meaning the Geula will arrive, Be'ita, in its set time, achishena, in its hurried time, in its sped up time. And the Gemara darshans, if we're Zaycha, it will be Achishena, will come before the set time. If not, Be'ita. Chevra, Achishena is gone. You understand? Achishena is sweet. I believe Mashiach is coming every minute. This is Ikvus of the Mashiach because we're coming to the end of history. The Sheishas Alav Shana are about to end. We're 277 years, and that's the generous Shita. As to when, not just when Mashiach will come, our experience of reality will shift fundamentally. People don't understand this. We're still sleeping. We don't understand. These are not regular times. We are not regular Jews. The Nevi'im described that before the coming of that, Elef Hashvi, and in the time leading up to that, they describe a infusion, an explosion of soul, of consciousness. Umala haaretz deas Hashem kamayim liyam chasim. The world will be saturated with the perception and the knowledge and the consciousness of God like water covers the ocean. There's not 1 inch of ocean floor that isn't saturated with water. It's Yefshar. How many thousands of tons of pressure as a person sinks down. You couldn't, if you tried, you couldn't be Masalik, what it would take, in engineering, just to make Lu Yitzir that you can remove water from like 1 segment of ocean floor. It's Yefshar. Mukhrach liot. It's a forceful explosion of spiritual connection, of soulfulness, which I don't mean feeling spiritual. Let's bring it right some zah, vulnerability. That's what it is. All defenses come down, you show up like a little child. That's what it means. There's no other definition for spirituality, because it could be a dimion. A person's very spiritual and shaking and rolling his eyes back and learning things that make him feel like a big Kabbalist. Sheker v'chazav, shav, behevel nisa, is nothing. Vulnerability, showing up for real. The Pesukim say the world is going to be filled with that. Umala aretz deas Hashem, like a real relationship where people want the real thing. Kulam yedu isilim miktanim vad gedolim. They will all know me. Limiktanim vad gedolim. When our inner katanim, when the child inside of us finally is able to reach the gedolim, is able to come out. We stop suppressing things, and we stop shoving things under the table, and we deal with issues. Limikatanim vad gedolim. One of the Chaver said over Shabbos, a beautiful thing. The Gemara says, Shalos mishmaris havi alayla, right? The night is split into 3 mishmaris. Each one has a different thing. Chamar nar, a donkey brays. The final mishmar, says the Gemara, is Isha Mesaperes and Bala. So if you look at Mefarshim, it means, right before dawn, our technical things, husband and wife, they wake up, maybe before the children wake up, they got things masader in order. What's on your schedule today? That's the time. It's a demarcating time in the unfolding of night. Is when Isha Mesaperes and Bala. So Medir Chavers, Yaakov Danishevsky from Chicago, is here. He said Gavald. He said 2 things. He says, number 1, There are Mefarshim that understand the Shalosh Mishmaris Havi Alayla as not just referring to one particular night, but it's talking about Galus. Over the whole Galus. He says the last Mishmar of the Laila, meaning Ikvus of the Meshicha, so just on a basic level, Isha Mesaperes Bala. People are finally learning how to talk to their wives. Simple. Simple as it is. We take it for granted. Wives are learning how to talk to their husbands. I don't mean like they have respect for each other. I mean they're finally learning how to mamish open up and be real. That's just on a simple level. That's Pashup Shad, right? Isha Mesaperes Bala. Okay. He says on a deeper level, Kabbalah, the Isha is more the spectrum of the Kliyas, the Indian of Gashmias, Indian of the Guf, which in a certain sense, Apipnimius is rooted much higher than the Neshama. That's a separate Indian. Because the earliest Gilui is the Gilui of Nekeva. Without getting into the whole thing now. It's feminine energy. If that's the first Gilui, is the Kli. We already said that the whole time I'm talking. HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates the from an Adama for us. It's rooted in a much higher place. But it's the Indian of Kli. It's the Indian of the Guf. It's the Indian of the Ergeshim. Of our stuff. That's the Indian. He said in the last Mishmar before the coming of Mashiach, Isha Misaperes Imbala. All of our embodied trauma of 2,000 years, this is not our first rodeo. Our neshama, what do you think? This is the first time your neshama is down in the world? If you don't think that we've already sat in this room together, in a different form, so b'chlal. This is, we've done this already. I've already spoken these words. We've already sat here together in different forms at a different time. I don't know when. I don't know who you were, I don't know who I was. We have a lot of stuff that's accumulated throughout exile. It's a pele that we function however we function. It's a pele that we're trying to say the word functional, but we're not mamish functional. So it's but whatever level of functional we are, it's a pile ploim. Like one of the Chaver in Chicago, like in London, likes to say, elephant of elephants. Mamish of pile ploim, means wonder of wonders, but it could also mean elephant of elephants. It's a Gavalt wonder, right? It's a pele. That we function however we function. Do you understand what we've been through? Do you understand what we have in our DNA? Do you understand that our dar has to heal, not for ourselves, but for our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents in ways that they couldn't imagine because they were running for their life their whole life. And in our dar, Isha Mesaperes and Bala, our bodies are mamish speaking to us. And our taivas and our yetzaharas and our mishagas and our anxieties and our sadness and our loneliness and our angst and our anger and our jealousy and v'chule, v'chule, v'chule. It's not just a thing that I need to control. It's not in my way. It is my way. The guf is telling you something. It's telling me something. It's pointing me to what I need to fix, and it's pushing me into the fixing. It's not a b'di'evet that we struggle. Whole generation shmir sabris. It's not a b'di'evet. It's not like a strange anomaly. And if we could only figure this out, we'll keep on going on our merry lives. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is forcing us to deal with issues that have nothing to do with Yetzaharas. It's much more in the bracha of Rifa'enu than it's in the bracha of Hashivenu. I've told you this. There's a couple of chaver in the room that I'm thinking that I know that I told you this. It's not religious guilt. It's not moral or ethical. It's deep, deep, deep healing. Isha Mesaperes and Bala. Our bodies are telling us something. It's a Herculean task We have to heal the whole, for Doirei Doiris have been waiting for us. We're in Yerushalayim. We don't appreciate it, we don't understand it. We're in Yerushalayim. I appreciate it because I'm just here for a few days. As Hashem, I should be back mamish, but I'm living somewhere very far from Yerushalayim. It's closer than some other place, I promise you. It's far. Not to say anything bad, London is far. It's cold, it's rainy, but Baruchnius, it's far away. You're in Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim, Barachim, Tashav, like that happened. We're here. We are here. So we have to understand our tafkid. It's a lichatchila, it's a privilege. Of course we're suffering, we're struggling, we're janitors. We have to work this thing out. We have to work it out. We are Yaakov Avinu wrestling with a sar shel Esav ad alois hashachar. This is the tikkun that you and I are called upon to do now. But we can't do it if we're running away from our problems. We can't do it if we're running away from panemias. The only way we could do it is if we recognize what's happening in the world. Umala aretz deas Hashem kamayim le'amachasim. Zedar darshav. This is a generation where people are being darish. We're mevakesh. Our neshamas are thirsty. We want the real thing. Ani l'daydi v'daydi li. I want a Black Gemara. I want a Mishnah Brura. I want a Rabbi Kiva Eger and a Baruch Ber and everything. Chassam Sofer. I want everything, but I want that it should be bursting with Elokus. I want it to be part and parcel of an overwhelmingly universal relationship with Hashem that pervades every single facet of my life, not just when I'm sitting in the base medrash, that I learned a good stark seder and tick off the box and I can leave my yarmulke at the door and I carry on like a guy the rest of the day until I maybe either I'll schlep the second seder or maybe I'll make night seder to make somebody happy. It's shtus. You'll forgive me, it's shtuyot. I'm just like you. It's shtus. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to myself. It's shtuyot. It's mamash all of life. It's not a thing that we do. It's how we eat and how we sleep. It's how we speak to another person. It's how we speak to ourselves. It's what makes us happy. It's what makes us sad. It's what we want. It's why we are in this world in the first place. It's a mission. Neshamas begufim. We're not here to change an iota, not a kutza shel yud, chas v'shalom, of halacha, of messiah, of anything. The only thing that the whole convention is there is to say, let's allow in the ruach mimarim that's coming down in mega doses. It's exploding. There's a derech of avodas Hashem that can enable a person to integrate vulnerability, authenticity, real showing up into every single facet of the vessels of Yiddishkeit, Heinim Gufei Halacha, which is the whole Yiddishkeit. There are drachim that are being revealed. There are sfarim, niflaim, va'adirim. Everything's been translated. There are shiurim, thousands of them. Literally, it's there. The question is whether we take ourselves seriously enough to recognize how imperative it is that we engage with it with both hands and hold on to it for dear life. Like a person was drowning in an ocean and all of a sudden they see floating nearby a piece of wood. Think about how you would hold on to that piece of wood. Because your life would depend on it. Our life depends on this. It depends on it. Not because chas v'shalom person will die otherwise, but yeah, there's a part of us that will die otherwise. It will die. And dying doesn't mean going off the derech. Dying just means Yiddishkeit that's not real. It doesn't mean anything. It's not real. It's a corpse. It could be the most beautiful corpse. It's like a wax figure in a museum. It's dead. So something dies. So Hakadosh Baruch Hu sent us to the world to be overflowing with feeling and regesh and ichpatiyut, to care and achrayus, to be people with fire in their eyes who wake up in the morning with a fire, with a flame. And here I want to come to the second part, to the end part of this segment, is to return back to what we said. We have the weapons, but we don't know who the enemy is. I want to tell you a little bit about the enemy. One of the defining features of the Rambam's metaphysics or philosophy is that the only way to truly understand Hashem is to understand what Hashem is not. Because he can't say anything definitive about the Ein Sof. It's infinite, it's completely beyond us. Atzmos, the essence of Hashem is Yev Shar Rabbincal. You can't say anything. L'chaim. So the Rambam says that we can say what Hashem is not. If we explain what Hashem is not, so the Mamela, you have some asaga of what Hashem is. But it's like drawing a circle on a paper, but you didn't draw the circle, you just filled in the rest of the paper, and you left a space in the middle that now became a circle. You can never draw the circle, though. I want to tell you that the same is true for Am Yisrael. It's impossible to describe what Am Yisrael is. And by Am Yisrael, I don't mean the Jews who live in this area, or from Jews all around the world, or even the 83% of Jews who are completely, quote unquote, unaffiliated. Many of them don't even know that they're Jewish b'chlal. Do we think about that? Do we care about that? Or we're happy with Mishpacha magazine that makes it seem like everything is peachy and it's so wonderful, then everything's okay. Because how? 83% of our family is in some form of a Hamas tunnel. Baruch. Do we care about? Do we think about that? Do we daven about that? Are we thinking about ways that we could be a part of? But I'm not even talking about that when I talk about Klal Yisrael. I'm talking about Knesset Yisrael. I'm talking about the fact that the Piasetz Rebbe makes it clear in Chavis HaTalmid, at the end, Shloshim Amarim, where the Piasetz Rebbe says that each and every one of us have 5 parts of our neshama. There's nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida. That's not Kabbalah. That's basic Judaism. I'll explain to you. People who think that Pnimius HaTorah is something like a bonus, it's like an extra thing. Oh, spheres. Okay, maybe I'll come to understand the spheres one day. It's basics, basic Judaism. This is the Aleph Beis of Yiddishkeit. Can't move without the spheres. The Pardes Yirmanim says from the Ramak or Moshe Kodaver that we learn his Talmud Devar and ignore everything else he wrote. We do the same thing for the Ramchal. Mesilas Yesharim, for sure. Derech Hashem, absolutely. Das Tfunas, I don't know, maybe. And then he wrote 15 other Svarim. Basics of Judaism. The Ramak writes that we cannot say that a person who denies the Esser spheres is a kofer. Can't say that because he believes in Achdus Yisbarach. But he says we can say very definitively one thing about him. Lo ra'am oros miyamav. He never saw light. And the Pardes says he will leave this world without having tasted goodness. It's not my words. It's the Ramak. He says the same thing in our Nerav. So nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida. We have to know what these things are. They're inside of us. They are us. It's we should probably understand what it means to be a human, right? Nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. These are different levels, hierarchical levels of different layers of our neshama until you get to the very, very top, which is yechida, which is mamash like a chelik al-kamimal. Says the Piasetz Rebbe, there's a level above that. And that level is called Knesset Yisrael. It's the collective oceanic soul of the whole Jewish nation, from the very first Jew until the very last Jew. It's one soul. That's v'ahavta l'recha kamocha kamocha mamish. It's not just love him like yourself. It's yours because he is yourself. She is you. Mamish you. So in order to understand Knesset Yisrael, in order to understand this pele of a people who b'chlal don't belong here, like Rav Hutner makes it clear in the Sfarim HaKadoshim, we came from the Kisei HaKavod. We came from a place that's higher than the Malachim. We don't belong here. We don't belong here. Olam Hazeh is not for us. We were sent on a mission. The only way to really understand this mission is to understand the opposite of Klal Yisrael. The opposite of Klal Yisrael is Amalek. Am Yisrael are called Rashis. Amalek is called Rashis. Rashis Kayim Amalek. These two Rashis mirror each other. They parallel each other. Do you know that Amalek, interestingly enough, is not counted in the 70 nations? Nor is Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael and Amalek are like the two shrushim, like the headquarters. And then there are 70 nations, 35 on the side of Esav, 35 on the side of Yishmael. But Amalek is something else. To understand Amalek, you have to look at the Pesukim that describe Amalek. And the penultimate pasuk that describes Amalek is the first time we meet Amalek. And the pasuk describes Asher Karcha Baderech, that Amalek happened upon us along the way. The word Karcha means happens, happenstance. And Rashi already tells us in a certain form that Karcha means cold, to cool. Mashukar, it's cold. So Rashi uses it in a slightly different way, but the Sfarim HaKadoshim say, you know what, Amalek is not a nation. You have to hunt down Amalek, and maybe this one is Amalek, and maybe that one is Amalek, and we don't know what Amalek is. That's not Stam, that's Ashkach Al Yaina, because it was never about someone else. It was about us. It was about the face in the mirror. So Kedushas Levi, take a look in Parshas, in his drush to Parshas Zachar. He says, Mefurish. He says, Amalek is not outside of you. Amalek is inside of us. Maybe there was a point in time when Amalek was outside of us, maybe in Gan Eden, when the Nachash came and tried to seduce Adam and Chava. That was like the last time that the Nachash, that Amalek was outside of us. But then they ate the Eitz Hadas Toivera. The word Das means connection, means knowledge, but it also means intimacy, interchange, exchange. Das Toivera. So the Rav Amalek are mixed into the Toiv. We have Ra inside of us. It's not us. It's not us. But it's in us. But it's not us, but it's in us. And the whole meaning of that Amalek is to counter the neshama. The neshama is baderech. The neshama is on its way somewhere. The neshama is goal-oriented. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. The neshama doesn't want to come down to the guf. The Zarka, there's a midrashim described that the neshama puts up a fight. Oh my. A.B. Rottenberg song, right? Shamala? It's Chazal. But the Malachol, no, I don't want to go. The Neshama doesn't want to come down here. He says the Balatanya, it's Yerida, it's Sarich Aliyah. But once the Neshama comes down, Machlokes Neshama Bezillah, right? They fought it out for years. Toiv Leila Adam Shalai Never Mishaniver, was it better to have been created? Not better. Say L'chala Deis, they agreed. Toiv Leila Shalai Never Mishaniver, it's better not to be created. Now that a person's here, you found Shlish B'Maisa, because like, we're not wasting it. The neshama is goal oriented. It wants something. It wants something, and it doesn't want anything having to do with Olam Hazeh, no matter what religious garb it wears. It doesn't care. The neshama wants something. And Amalek is the voice that comes along, Asher Karcha Bat Derech. That on that derech, on that journey toward a ya'ad, toward a goal, toward an objective, Amalek is the voice that comes, Bat Derech, along the journey, Asher Karcha, to cool us off, cool us down. to make sure that we never get there. Because we stop believing that we can get there, and therefore we stop believing that there's any point to the derech, and to the point that we stop believing that there is even a derech. And maybe there's just nothing. So if Amalek is the inyan of Asher Karcha Baderech, that it's all about kriris and coldness, and it's all about knocking us off course. So then obviously what it means to be a Jew is the hepech of that. To be a Jew is to be a flame. To be a Jew is to be a flame. And not a flame that's positioned on one particular wick in one particular place at one particular time. A roaring flame. We saw some of that footage recently, right, out of LA. But that flame is not just a flame that's, is content with one particular burning bush. That flame is a flame that's ripping through cities. It's a ferocious flame. It's a flame that leaves no room for anything other than what it is. It's just a flame. And it knows where it's going. And a flame is warmth. And a flame is light. And a flame is vitality. A flame is life. Am Yisrael are a nation that is on a journey and on a mission to bring light and warmth and real vitality, pneumius, vulnerability, real relationships, not stam shtiyot, real love. I wish I could give over to you a chelik mini elef, a tiny portion, a percentage of what I experienced on Shabbos. Do you know what love means? Do you know what love means? Do you know what it means to look in somebody's eyes and without saying a word, you both start crying because the connection and the relationship that you have with this person is not a relationship and a connection you have with this person, but it's the elokus inside of you that's makusher to the elokus inside of them, that's bound with that elokus that you want to see revealed in this world, that you've given your whole life to that, and you're a meiser nefesh, and you suffered. Do you know what kind of love that is? Real life, real relationships, real mamish, neshamas. You see somebody else, it's a neshama. The guf is a little cleave. That's not them. You look into somebody's eyes. I'm not talking like romance. I'm talking basic friendships. A lot of the chevra in yeshiva here, you have roommates. What it means to sit in silence with someone. It sounds silly, I know, because we're so stupid. You'll forgive me, we're so oriented physically and small that it sounds weird. It sounds strange. Strange is relative. It's relative. It depends, what you get used to. There's das elyon, das tachton. Das tachton, gashmius is real, and maybe there's ruchnius. Das elyon, ruchnius is real, and there's also gashmius. This is called Kikel Deus Hashem. This is from my Rebbe, Rabbi Klein. Shem Yikum Damai. He says, Kikel Deus Hashem. The pasuk says, God is a God of two Deus. Because there are two ways you can look at the world. Das elyon, das tachton. Weird is relative. You can get to a madriga. Not you can. We must get to a madriga where we finally see things the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu intended for us to see them. And it starts with ourselves. It starts with ourselves. How do we look at ourselves? What do we see when we look in the mirror? Because you know what Amalek wants you to see? Amalek wants you to see a failed project. Asher karcha baderech. Amalek wants you to give up on yourself, plain and simple. It sounds cliche until you're actually living it. And until Amalek has you by the neck, up against a wall. And I know what that feels like. And I know, bivadaut, that every single person in this room knows what that feels like in one way or another. Then Ein Shemish is not just a song. Because there are moments in our lives when it's Me'ikre Emunah. Because the rest of the 13 Ikre Emunah rely on the fact that we believe we can even have Emunah anymore. Amalek wants to snuff out our flame. And we need to believe that we have that flame inside of us, that we are that flame. I really despise, I tell my students all the time in London, I teach in high schools, I never, ever, ever like to use the word potential. Sometimes teachers, they're trying to be nice and give someone chizuk. You have so much potential. They'll tell the parents come for PTA, they say, oh, this kid has really great potential. What does potential mean? Potential means that now he's an oisvarv. Now he's klum, bachot miklum. Maybe one day, if the stars align, something will come from this kid. Trev, chitzoni. What potential? We are a flame. We already are chelik al-kamimal. It doesn't look that way on the outside. Good, go deeper. The Zohar Kadosh says that in the generation before Mashiach, which is our dar. Make no mistake, this is our dar. Says the Zohar Kadosh, Bish milavar, they will look bad on the outside, tav milagav, but they're good on the inside. On the outside, it doesn't look so nice. And everybody struggles. Everybody struggles in different ways. Everybody struggles. Some people struggle intellectually. Some people struggle, they can't sit and listen. I find that particular struggle depends on the teacher, but it's not all the time that way. There are people who struggle. There are people who struggle emotionally. There are people who struggle spiritually. Every single person has something. But we are a flame. Tav milagav. And Amalek wants to make us forget that. I'll tell you a little story. I'm so sorry. I'm in rant mode, as you can tell. You forgive me. If it's too much.
Keep going.
It was 3.5 years ago. We were still living in Yerushalayim here, not far from here. I'm at a shkol. It was before Hanukkah. And it was, I don't know, maybe, I can't remember exactly. It was an Erev Shabbos, maybe. We were all home. I was sitting learning at the dining room table. My wife was busy in the kitchen, probably preparing for Shabbos. And our then 3-year-old, 2.5, 3-year-old son, Shmuel Shmelka, was sitting at the dining room table and he was coloring. And it was like one of those rare, serene, it was very calm, it was beautifully pleasant. And it was great. It was a great moment. Everything was just beautiful and calm, peaceful. And all of a sudden I hear a little pitter patter. I feel a presence. I turn to the side and it's Shmuel Shmelka. His little, long, beautiful, golden, curly hair. And he's holding my Sefer Sipurei Maasiyos. So I had it laying on the table. I was working on something. And he's holding it open. He says, Abba, look. And in a thick green crayon, he had scribbled all over the Sipurei Maasiyos. So my initial reaction, I said, Shmuel, very calmly, I said, Shmuel, we don't color in Sfar. So I will get you a paper. I'm so happy for you to color, but we don't draw in Sfar. His reaction was disproportionate to my comment, but I didn't yell. He became so sad. I can't even give it over to you. He mamish pouted. He didn't even start crying. He was mamish like he was so sad. And I was confused. I was disillusioned. I was like, what? That doesn't add up, but... And then I chap. You fool. He drew a picture for you. He wasn't coming to show you what he did to your Sipur Maisius. He was coming to show you the picture that he drew for you. He drew something for you. And this is your response? We don't color on Sfarim? What color on Sfarim? He's giving you a gift. And Mamash, I said, Shmuel, it's the most beautiful picture in the world. What did you draw for Abba? And his face lit up. He says, a menorah. He drew me a menorah. I want to tell you something. This whole world is God's safer. This whole world is God's book. And sometimes you look at your life and what you've accomplished, and the ups and the downs, the Elias, and you read this, the progressions, the descents. And it looks like a big, huge scribble in God's book. Like a big, huge, fat scribble. And Amalek wants to make us consider the green crayon on the whole of Yukum, on the whole existence. That like, no, we don't color on Sfarim, right? We have to be ma'amin, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is ma'amin, that we're mamish doing the very best that we can to draw a picture for Kudsha B'rich. Looks like a scribble? This is Shal Tachtis U'Mitachtav we live in. Malchus to Malchus of Asiya. This is not a picnic. This is Gehenna. 2,000 years of embodied trauma. You know what strength it takes to look yourself in the mirror and to tap into that place inside of you. And be'emes, it's there. Be'emes, 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 it's there. And to say, you know, Rivana Shalom, I know it looks like a scribble. I promise you. I'm really trying to give you something. I'm really trying to give you something. And now let me say deeper. I have a difficult job, you know? Because what I spend my whole life doing is trying to defend God. And trying to convince people that God is actually good. And it's hard. It's a really hard job. Because if you look around, it doesn't look like that. Because the amount of tsar, the amount of pain and suffering that people are going through is not conceivable. It's Ein L'Shar. And I'm like a bit of an apologist. Like, I walk around my whole life just trying to say like Afal Pikin, you know. Really, I'm telling you, he's really sweet. He's good. It's not easy. Especially, and this is a question I get from time to time, people open up to the Teichacha, like, you know, I mentioned Yirmiyahu before. You read that and then, you know, quote me about Shem Tov. Like, you know, it's heavy. This is heavy stuff. Sometimes, the way that God unfolds the world, both on pratyistic level in terms of what each and every one of us go through and have been through in our own lives, but in the life of the Klal and in the life of the Olam, all of humanity. It looks like a big scribble in our book. My eye. What is this? What is this? Holy, sweet, shining souls going out to war on the 9th of October. Or the Rambam, you know, someone was saying over Shabbos, like his son-in-law went and he packed like a whole library, you know. all the svarks, he's middle Baba Basra, and he's middle Chazari this and that, and figures he'd take it with him. He didn't have a gun, but he took his Rambam, for Miluim, whatever. And then Pitom, Almanas, Yisayim. What is that? What is that? It's a scribble. You know what strength it takes to look past what looks like a scribble and to see that a Kadosh Baruch Hu is trying to draw something for us. Because Mahu Af Ata, if we're talking about showing up vulnerably, we need to recognize that a Kadosh Baruch Hu is showing up vulnerably. And what looks on the outside like anger is deep, deep sadness. Deep sadness and yearning and longing. Saying Tachna Beroig is Rachim Tiskar. Doesn't make sense on a simple level, right? Beroig is Rachim Tiskar. What should you say? B'mekoim roig is Terachim. Instead of being angry at us, Terachim. Have mercy on us. We don't say that. Because what we're really saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Master of Heaven and Earth, is that Beroig is when you're angry at us because you look at us and on the outside we look the way that we look. There are two responses you can have to that. You can, number one, be angry at us because what are you doing? But in response to the very same circumstance that is ostensibly causing a person or causing a Kadosh Baruch Hu to be angry, there's another relevant, appropriate response. And that is compassion. A person wrongs you, so you want to be angry at them. You can also be compassionate toward them. Because Nebuch, they're in such a place that they have to do something like that. Nebuch. So we say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, be roiges, in the moment of roiges, literally, have rachmanis, because can't you see that we're trying our best? We're trying our best. Can't you see that all of my wanderings and everything that I'm looking for and all the tuma and all the taiva and all the stuff, I'm looking for you. I'm looking for you. I'm an neshama and a guf. I'm a flame. I'm a ruach mimarin. And I'm lost and I'm overwhelmed. I don't know where to find you, but I'm looking for you. It's not a scribble, it's a menorah. I'm trying to turn my life into a menorah for you. Beroig is rachim tiskar, says the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Can you do the same for me? Can you, in your anger toward me, beroig is rachim tiskar? Can you see that shchinta b'galusa? Can you see that I'm suffering? Can you see that ima anochi b'tzara? That I'm with you? And that you're looking for me and I'm looking for you. And now Shil Hashem Yisharim Labaker, Shem Labaker. David HaMelech says, more than those who long for morning, for dawn, for Geula. My soul longs for the Geula. And we can't sleep because the night is so cold and dark, and we're mamish waiting for the morning to come, which is bright and light and warm. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, well, you think you're the only one who can't sleep because you're waiting for Geula? Don't you know what the pasuk means when it says Hine lo yanam v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael? Api pshat. It means God never sleeps or slumbers because He's guarding the Jewish people. It's sweet. You know what it really means? God can't either sleep because shomer Yisrael, because He's waiting for us. Shomer Laboiker, we're waiting for the Geula. Shomer Yisrael, He's waiting for us. Because the word Shomer can mean to guard, it could also mean to long for, to yearn. And so it starts with ourselves. It starts with ourselves. We really need to upgrade our perspective on ourselves and to battle the krius of Amalek with hope and with belief in our holiness, not in our potential, in our actual, in what we already are. To believe that we're a wildfire, not a little flame, narrowly kim nishmas adam. Because that's how it manifests within each and every one of us. But Knesset Yisrael is a wildfire. To believe that I have that inside of me. And Amalek wants to put that out in a billion ways. Asher karcha b'derech. Can I get back in touch with that? Is that how I view myself? Is that my basic category for how I consider myself? How do I think about myself? What am I in this world? Are my ambitions, what I'm doing after seminary, what I'm doing after yeshiva, where I want to live, what school I want to send my kids to, what profession I want to have, how many years I should stay in learning. Or is my identity a historic wildfire? From Avram Avinu Echad Hay Avram Ivri. The whole world was on one side, Avram was on the other side. Al Tikra Vayikra Vayakre. Avram was on a mission, not to call out in the name of God that he should daven and shakel nicely, and people should think he's a big kamachacham and get a pat on the back and make a siyam hashas. Avram Avinu was Al Tikra Vayikra Vayakre. His whole life was to cause other people to call out in the name of God. A mission-oriented human, willing to stand up against the whole world for his principle. Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, it's in our DNA, it's in our soul. It is our soul. We are them. They are us. Mashiach is not somebody who's going to come one day on a donkey. Mashiach is you and me. Each and every one of us has a chelik of Mashiach. And you know where that chelik of Mashiach is? It's on a donkey. You know what a donkey is? A donkey is that humble, vulnerable place. He's an ani roicha v'chamar. It's that part of ourselves that's finally willing to mamish be real. And to go out of our comfort zone, to be real, to heal. Rifa'enu, to do the work, not to run away. And not to say this is less convenient. And the 90% of the way that we show up in the world is b'chalal not authentic to that 10% that you and I both know that that's who we really are. But we could chas v'shalom never show that to anybody or say that to anybody, because what's going to be with our reputation? What reputation? What reputation? What else do we have to protect b'chalal? The only reason that we're in this world in the first place is that we should reveal this nekuda pnimis. And if we can accept that in ourselves, we start to accept that in others. We start to be that voice for someone else. We start to help other people see that in them when they can't see it in themselves. We hope to channel this effervescent, overflowing spirit of Geula that's bubbling over already for hundreds of years, thousands of years. The Malbim says, from the minute that we went into Golus, already the aura of Mashiach is shining in the world. From that minute, they stepped at the last Jew, which was the child, by the way. The children were the last to go, and they're the first to return. From the moment that last Jewish child crossed the border out of Eretz Yisrael, says the Malbim, Golus began, and the light of the Geula began to shine. And it's like a sunshine, kima, rising, getting brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. The more that we can channel that energy by learning Sifrei Pnimius. But it isn't just an intellectual exercise. That's the genius of the Baal Shem, is that you cannot learn Baal Shem as an intellectual exercise. Unless you're really talented, really talented academic, knows how to keep it dry. But it's almost, Shai, your heart is on fire, right? So we have to be learning these teachings, but more than learning them, we have to be integrating them. We need Rabbeim who are willing to show up vulnerably. Mashpiyim, Rebbes, who are willing to just mamish, b'chol hatokef, just be humans, without any fanfare and this and that and shtuyot. Just the thing itself. Nishmas Yisrael, a wildfire. When we do that, our communities change. When our communities change, Kiruv becomes much easier if you have something to be Mekar of people too. Otherwise, what do you be Makarev them to? Like what? It's not impressive. You take them on a big trip to Dubai and they think that from Yiddishkeit is mamish like tons of sushi and like very wealthy people and like incredible experiences. And then they show up in shul one Shabbos and like half the place you're not even sure what part of davening they're up to because I don't want to be Makatrik. You know what shuls look like. And it's a shvira. It's a shvira naira. So when we get our act together, mamish, and we're trying our best, but we mamish do it, gewalt, they're going to come running. They will come running because it'll sell itself. You don't need to advertise. It'll sell itself. You won't need a care of professional who then takes credit that they were Makarev somebody. It's the most horrible terminology to ever hear anybody use. I was Makarevim. You were Makarev. What does that mean? You were Makarevim. It's the same idea. His neshama is a wildfire. What were you Makarev exactly? They'll come running. And when the whole Klal Yisrael is activated, humble, childlike, shining, innocent neshamas, then we can be an Arla Goyim to the whole humanity who's waiting for a message from us already for thousands of years. No, I spoke way too long. But it's mamish. I want you to know, it's not even Dvar Ma'yotz in my leiv. It's my leiv. This is my whole leiv. Because I see the koyach. I see what it does for me in my life. I see what it does for me in my marriage, in my own home. I see the difference. I see it in the students that I'm privileged enough, and the friends really, that I'm privileged enough to sit with and learn with. And I just want it for every yid. It's not judgmental and I'm looking down. I mamish see what we can be. I believe in the prophets. I believe in the prophecies. I know that we can do it. I know that we will do it. And I'm just here like to remind myself continuously, otherwise I forget, and a little bit to share this with others so that we can get these conversations started. We can talk in a language of Pneumius, which isn't necessarily, again, Kabbalistic per se. It's just real. It's just real. God is close to whoever calls out, but there's a caveat. Hashem should bless us with tefillas that are true. A person can go their whole life davening and they never once daven. The Hillel writes, he says already in his time, he says there's a chash whether it's even the getter of tefillah b'chlal. Like he doesn't even know whether it's called prayer. Like we call it tefillah because a person went in and he wrapped up, and they opened it up and they said a couple of words. Like we're not. Is it even called like tefillah? Was there prayer that happened? Go out into the forest. Go out into the field. Speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your own words. Tell him what's going on for you in a real way. And then Karev Hashem. And then God is real. God is the reality. And then Umala Aretz Deus Hashem Kamayim Liyam Achasim. Let it be soon. Let it be today.
Amen.
Share
return again, return to the land of the soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of the soul. Return to who you are, return to where you are, return to where you are, born again, born again. Return to the land of the soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of the soul. Ay la 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 Thank you so much to each and every one of you for coming. It's such a privilege, Mamish, to have shared that with you. And it's Be'ez Hashem. You know, I always say we're just the pioneers. It's just getting started. We have to spread this to the whole Klal Yisrael. Be'ez Hashem, we should rise, me'afar, kumi, livshi, big dechs, evar dechami. We're ready to greet Mashiach in our splendor, in our glory, in our glow, in our holiness, in our sweetness. The wildfire should Mamish make it to the finish line. The curve, Mamish.
Amen. Thanks for sharing your comments. It's moving. It's amazing.